Hello, I'm AD Hobbs, and this is a Star Trek review. But my last Star Trek review ended abruptly, so I'll just say what happened at the end. Basically, I said that the first ever Star Trek convention was in 1972, and oh yes, a big bit of irony. Star Trek was originally meant to last 5 years. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations. But Star Trek is now more or less 50 years old, so yes, that's quite a big difference, yes. Instead of 5 years, it's lasted about 50 years, yeah. And who knows how much longer it will last. Well, long live Star Trek. Or should I say, live long and prosper. Okay, let's get to the point. This one concerns Star Trek the Animated Series. It's not called that, it's just called Star Trek, yeah. But so that you know which one I'm talking about, I'm going to say Star Trek the Cartoon. Now, a lot of people, including myself, thought that, Star Trek was cancelled in 1969, and then we didn't see anything related to the franchise until the movie in 1979, 10 years later. But no, that's not true. In 1973, Filmation did a cartoon just called Star Trek, and it had the original actors doing the voices of the characters. So yeah, that was pretty cool, yeah. We had George Takei doing Mr. Sulu, the helmsman. We had Nichelle Nichols doing the voice of Uhura again, and I think she did the voices of some of the other alien creatures on the ship as well. And Walter Koenig, however, did not return as Chekhov, so the Navigator had to be replaced with a strange alien creature with 3 arms. And however, he was involved. He wrote some of the stories, So one way or another, all 7 of the original cast members were involved. And yeah, they remain true to their characters. Yes, Uhura is a headstrong communications officer, and Mr. Sulu likes gymnastics, fencing, and botany in his spare time. And we see the Enterprise. Yes. A bit of history about Filmation. The cartoon company Filmation did the cartoon of Flash Gordon in 1979. They also did a Brave Star, but the thing they're most famous for is doing the cartoon of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And one thing that remains consistent in the Filmation cartoons, very bright colours. Yes, yes, no expenses spared to make the really bright colours of the cartoon. And anyway, we see the Enterprise at the beginning of each episode, and you know how it does that thing at the beginning in the original series, this pose when it goes over orbiting a planet. And then we see it like that. Well, they do the same thing with the cartoon to make it, feel like a Star Trek thing. And, oh yes, in the 1960 TV show, we have pulsing lights. And as far as I know, this was the first spaceship to have pulsing lights on it. I don't know if that's a big claim to fame or not. I suppose, like an aircraft has pulsing lights, so you don't confuse it with a star. And also, yes, we have pulsing lights in the cartoon of the Enterprise spaceship as well, yeah. And overall, yes, quite a good show. Some good things and some bad things. Over here, we've got a Klingon battle cruiser. We do see the Klingons, yes, but I think it was only 1 episode, so that's a bit of a shame, yeah. I would have liked to see a bit more of the Klingons, but no, they just get 1 episode. I suppose it's because, the Klingons are not deemed as big a threat. It's more about issues as opposed to action, so we just see Klingons now and again. And I think it's just the 1 episode we see Klingons in this. The Romulans, however, Romulan spaceship here. Well, enjoy this Romulan spaceship because this is, the last time you're going to see it. We don't see the Romulans at all, which is a shame. For me, the Romulans were a wasted opportunity. They're really good villains, yeah. And they're a bit more subtle than the Klingons. Yes, they're evil, they're conquerors, but not in such an obvious way as the Klingons. Yeah, they're a bit more intellectual, yeah. They're like Vulcans gone horribly wrong. And it's a shame. It's a shame they didn't do more with the Romulan characters. That would have been cool if we could have seen them. Which villains do we see? Okay, back to the Enterprise. Oh yes, we see Harold Mudd return in the cartoon. He gets on board the Enterprise somehow. And I've nothing against Harold Mudd, and yes, he is a villain from the original show. And he's a bit of a cheeky chappy, he does petty crimes. But it would have been nice to see Harold Mudd in addition to the Romulans, as opposed to instead of the Romulans. Oh yes, and on this model spaceship you can see these extra fins on the engines at the back of the engines there, we don't have that much detail in the 60s show or the 70s cartoon. So this model has more detail. Yeah. Anyway, the problem with the cartoon was, some say it didn't do as well because it was a cartoon, and cartoons are very popular with children. But some of the stories were perhaps a little too intellectual for children, and I don't think they were that intellectual, but that was the belief. The other problem was adults didn't like it because it's a cartoon. And most grown-ups, whenever they see a cartoon, they think, oh, it must be for kids. There's no question about it. It must be for children. All cartoons are for children. Which is not true. No, have you ever seen South Park or Family Guy? They're definitely not aimed at children. So yeah, it's very naive to think like that. But that was the belief. And some cartoons are for grown-ups, some are for adults, and some are for both. Oh, excuse me. So for me, yes, Star Trek the cartoon, it was for yes, kids and grown-ups, yeah. And oh yes, they do things in the cartoon they couldn't do with a live-action film. For example, one episode, Kirk and Spock, they somehow transform into these underwater mer-people on some strange alien planet and have an adventure underwater, breathing underwater. They couldn't do that with the special effects they had in the 70s. So yeah, another example is, it's a one-off, but they meet this strange alien creature who can disembody himself. Pieces of his body can come off, and then he can reassemble himself afterwards. That's pretty cool. Yeah, they couldn't do that in a live-action thing with the limited special effects they had. So yeah, they made the most. In a cartoon, you can do more than what you can do in a live-action thing. In the 60s show, when the Enterprise, when it goes at the speed of light, it sort of goes like that, sort of shakes about a bit. And that's not very convincing for the speed of light, but that's the best they could do. I was expecting to see something a lot better, speed of light, in the cartoon, but we don't. We just see it sort of whiz along like that. You know, it doesn't really look like it's going incredibly fast at all. Yeah, but in spite of the few downers, overall, I enjoyed the cartoon, yeah. It's a good addition to the franchise. So, the best way I could describe the 70s cartoon of Star Trek was not as good as the live-action show, but the next best thing, yeah. Some interesting stories. So, if you're a Star Trek fan and you haven't seen the 70s cartoon, just called Star Trek, then I'd recommend it and check it out. Okay, until next time.